Every spring, millions of American gardeners walk into a nursery, spend 200, 300, sometimes more, plant a yard that looks beautiful for 6 weeks, and then watch it stop. And next April, they do the whole thing again. That is not gardening. That is an expensive subscription to disappointment you never signed up for. These 13 perennials do the opposite of that. You plant them once, they spread, they multiply, they fill in, push out, and take over every bare patch, every problem slope, every weed-choked corner of your yard. And they do it without you spending another dollar or doing another thing. Some of the people watching this right now planted one of these 13 plants 5 years ago and now have enough free divisions to share with every neighbor on the block. Plant number 9 on this list moved into a yard in Ohio, covered an entire 20-foot slope in 3 seasons, and eliminated the need to mow that area permanently. It has not been touched since. If you have a yard that looks half finished, half bare, or half alive, this list is the reason that changes this season. Subscribe to the channel right now. Every week, this channel delivers the kind of plant information that saves you real money at the nursery and real time in the yard. The next video is something every American gardener needs to see before they buy a single thing this season. Subscribe so it finds you the moment it goes live. Plant 1. Creeping Phlox. There is one plant that can turn the worst, most embarrassing, most defeat-your-soul slope or bare bank in your yard into something that stops traffic in April. Not metaphorically, people actually slow their cars down. And you will spend the rest of spring answering the same question from every person who walks past. What is that? That is creeping phlox. And once you understand what it actually does, you will never leave a slope bare again. Phlox subulata is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. That covers nearly every gardening region in the continental United States. In April and May, it produces a waterfall of color so dense and so saturated that the ground beneath it completely disappears. Electric pink, bright white, deep magenta, soft lavender. It does not trickle. It floods. Here is what makes it a self-spreading machine. The stems are trailing runners. Every place a stem touches soil, it roots. No help from you, no intervention, no planting. It reaches out and anchors itself. One plant becomes 2, 2 become 4. Within 3 full growing seasons, a single original plant covers 4 to 6 feet of ground in every direction and is still pushing outward. Here is the one thing most gardening content never tells you about creeping phlox. A slope covered in it never needs mowing again. Municipalities use it on highway embankments specifically to eliminate erosion control costs and maintenance permanently. That problem slope in your yard, the one that has beaten you back for years, is this plant's perfect home. Plant it once and walk away. After it blooms, shear it lightly. One cut. It returns denser and more vigorous the following year. Beyond that, 0 intervention required. Zones 3 through 9. Plant it this April and revisit that slope in September. It will not look the same. Plant 2. Balm. If you have never watched a ruby-throated hummingbird hover 2 feet from your face while you are sitting in your own backyard, this is the plant that makes that happen. Not eventually. Not if conditions are right. This summer, within weeks of planting. Monarda didyma is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. The flowers are spiky and tubular, blazing red, deep pink, rich purple, and soft white. That tubular shape is not just beautiful. It is biologically engineered for hummingbird feeding. Their beaks fit perfectly inside. They return every day, all season long. Monarchs visit, tiger swallowtails visit. Bumblebees work it constantly from the moment it opens. But here is the part that matters for this list. Bee balm spreads through underground rhizomes, fast. Within 2 to 3 seasons, one original planting fills a large space completely. You will not need to buy another one. You will not need to ask it to expand. It expands because it cannot help itself. The one critical thing most people get wrong with bee balm is this. They plant old varieties and fight powdery mildew all summer and blame themselves. Stop buying old varieties. Jacob Klein for deep red, raspberry wine for rich pink. Both are mildew-resistant, vigorous, and reliably perennial across most American growing zones without the maintenance headaches that gave older bee balm its bad reputation. Picture that hummingbird 2 feet away, wings a blur, completely unbothered by your presence. That moment happens in yards across this country every summer because someone planted bee balm and then sat down and waited. This season, you can be one of them. Plant 3. Yarrow. This plant grows in gravel. It grows in hardpan. It grows in the spots where you have already killed 3 other plants and walked away frustrated. And then it blooms for 6 straight months without asking you for a single thing in return. Achillea millefolium is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Flat-topped flower clusters in golden yellow, clean white, soft pink, vivid coral, and deep red. Paprika and strawberry seduction are the varieties with the richest warm tones that look stunning against silver foliage or cool blue flowers nearby. The feathery silvery green foliage is intensely aromatic, which is precisely why deer and rabbits walk past it without a second look. Here is what separates Yarrow from everything else on this list in terms of spreading capability. It moves 2 ways at once. Underground rhizomes push outward beneath the soil silently and steadily, and above ground it self-seeds so prolifically that bare areas nearby fill themselves within a single season. To cover a large embarrassing patch fast and cheaply, Yarrow is one of the most reliable and cost-effective tools available to American gardeners. The thing nobody tells you about Yarrow is this. Rich, amended, fertilized soil makes it floppy, weak, and disappointing. Poor, dry, rocky, neglected soil makes it bloom harder, stand taller, and spread more aggressively than you expected. Give it your worst spot. That is not settling. That is matching the plant to its ideal conditions, and the results will prove it every single time. One mature 3-year-old clump yields 8 to 10 free divisions in a single morning. At nursery prices, that is $80 to $150 worth of plants from 30 minutes of work. You plant Yarrow once, the rest is free. Before plant 4, drop your answer in the comments right now. What is the one spot in your yard that has defeated every single plant you have tried? Tell me your state and what you have already attempted, because I guarantee at least 5 plants on this list were specifically built for that exact problem. Plant 4. Black-Eyed Susan. Black-Eyed Susan grows wild along American roadsides from Maine to Texas. You have driven past it your entire life. And people still pay $9 a pot for it at the garden center every spring when nature's been growing it for free along every highway in this country for centuries. Rudbeckia fulgida goldsturm is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9, golden yellow petals radiating from a nearly black chocolate center. That contrast is vivid and electric in a way that photographs do not fully capture. You have to see it in a garden catching afternoon light to understand why people slow down on the street. Here is the part that makes it one of the most reliably self-spreading perennials on this entire list. It moves 2 ways simultaneously. Underground rhizomes push outward each season, expanding the root colony beneath the soil without you doing anything. and the seed heads drop seeds that germinate into brand new plants the following spring. Plant one this April. By year 2, the clump is visibly larger. By year 3, you have a sweeping colony you never touched, never watered, never fertilized beyond what rain provided naturally. The one thing most people get wrong is cutting the seed heads down in fall. Do not do it. Goldfinches, sparrows, and chickadees feed on those seeds from October straight through February. You are feeding wildlife through the hardest months of the year at zero cost, while your neighbors are spending money on plastic bird feeders filled with processed seed mix. Your garden feeds the birds for free. That is the native plant advantage. It blooms from July through October, right when most summer gardens start looking exhausted. When your neighbors' yards are brown and finished in August, yours is still fully alive and still spreading. Plant 5. Catmint. If deer have eaten your garden 2 years running and you are officially done being patient about it, this is the conversation you needed to have before you ever bought another plant. Walkerslow is hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8. Lavender blue flowers over soft gray-green aromatic foliage from late spring through midsummer. It mounds to about 2 feet tall and cascades naturally over pathway edges, border fronts, and driveway lines with zero effort or training from you. It finds its own shape, and its shape is elegant. Deer evaluate plants almost entirely by scent before they ever attempt to eat them. Catmint's aromatic oils are strong enough to repel deer at the approach stage before contact even happens. Unlike spray repellents that wash off in the first rain and need reapplying every 2 to 3 weeks, this plant is the repellent. It is always on, all season, year after year, without a single reapplication. Here is the one technique that separates gardeners who get 2 full seasons of catmint bloom from those who only get 1. Cut it back by half immediately after the first bloom flush ends. Most people skip this step entirely. Wait 3 weeks after cutting. It comes back fuller and more vigorous than before and produces a complete second wave of flowers that carries all the way through late summer. 2 full bloom seasons from one plant in a single year at absolutely no additional cost. Catmint self-seeds gently and spreads to form wider, softer mounds with each passing season. It does not take over uninvited. It expands gracefully, fills in gaps along borders, and makes every plant you place near it look more intentional and designed. Professional landscape designers who charge hundreds of dollars an hour reach for catmint constantly. Now you know exactly why. 5 plants in, and if this list is already giving you plants you're going to put in the ground this season, subscribe right now. Not at the end. Now. Because gardeners who subscribe in the middle of a video are the ones who actually come back. They are the ones whose yards look genuinely different 2 seasons from now. Hit that button before plant 6. Plant 6. Coneflower. No native perennial in this country attracts more species of pollinators per square foot than coneflower at peak bloom. That is not a marketing claim. That is the documented conclusion of university extension research across multiple American growing zones. Echinacea purpurea is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Coast-to-coast adaptability that almost no other perennial can match. The classic purple is iconic, but plant breeders have completely transformed what is available to American gardeners in the last decade. Magnus for large, vivid purple flowers with excellent stem strength. White Swan for clean white with orange centers. Cheyenne Spirit for a mix of warm tones from deep red to golden orange in a single compact plant. Here is what makes coneflower one of the most reliably self-spreading perennials available anywhere. Each plant produces hundreds of seeds per season. Those seeds drop, overwinter in the soil, and germinate the following spring. Year 1, you plant 3. Year 3, you have a colony of 12 to 15 plants covering a border that used to be bare. Year 5, you are dividing them and giving extras to neighbors. You never spend another dollar. Leave the seed heads standing through winter. Do not touch them. Goldfinches treat dried coneflower heads like a restaurant and return to them every single day from October through February. The National Wildlife Federation documents echinacea as one of the top 5 bird-attracting native plants in America. Your fall and winter garden becomes a wildlife destination because you stopped cutting things down too early. Southern gardeners in zones 7 through 9 give your coneflowers afternoon shade during the hottest weeks and choose heat-tolerant varieties. That one adjustment makes the difference between a plant that thrives and one that burns out before Labor Day. Plant 7. Goldenrod. Millions of Americans have blamed this plant for their fall allergies for decades. They are wrong. Completely, scientifically wrong. And that one mistake has kept one of the most spectacular, most ecologically productive native plants in North America out of American home gardens for an entire generation. Goldenrod blooms at the same time as ragweed. Ragweed produces lightweight, wind-carried pollen that enters your sinuses and triggers your immune system. Goldenrod produces heavy, sticky pollen carried exclusively by insects. It cannot become airborne. It physically cannot enter your sinuses. Goldenrod has never caused a single allergy attack in its entire existence. It simply bloomed nearby while ragweed did the damage and took the blame for it. That is one of the greatest cases of mistaken identity in American gardening history. Solidago rugosa fireworks is hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9. The name is not an exaggeration. Long, arching stems covered in tiny golden yellow flowers radiate outward in every direction, exactly like fireworks frozen mid-explosion. Nothing else in the fall garden produces that silhouette. It blooms from late August through October, filling the gap when most of your yard is winding down and color is the hardest thing in the world to find. Here is what makes it a serious spreader. Goldenrod moves through underground rhizomes aggressively. In an open, naturalized area, give it room and let it run. In a formal border, divide it every 3 years in early spring to keep it contained and performing at its absolute peak. Every division is a free plant. A 3-year colony yields 8 to 12 divisions in a single morning. Goldenrod supports over 100 species of native bees, butterflies, and beneficial insects. Over 100. One fall-blooming plant that does more ecological work than almost anything else you can put in the ground. Before plant 8, answer this honestly in the comments. Did you believe goldenrod caused allergies? Because if you did, you are in very good company. Almost every American gardener believes this. Now you know the truth. Drop your answer and tell me what state you are gardening in. Plant 8. New England Aster. Every plant on this list earns its place from spring through summer. This one earns its place in October. When everything else is slowing down, browning out, and surrendering to fall, New England Aster explodes. Symphyotrichum novae angliae is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8, one of the most cold-hardy fall-blooming perennials available to American gardeners anywhere in the country. Deep violet purple, rich lavender, bright pink, and pure white with golden centers that glow in lower autumn light. Colors that do not wash out in fall the way so many plants do. They deepen. They saturate. They perform in September and October with the same intensity that summer plants perform in June. That is extraordinarily rare. Here is the spreading reality of New England Aster. It moves through rhizomes and self-seeds simultaneously. Left alone, one original plant becomes an impressive colony within 3 seasons. Divide it every 3 years in early spring to keep it vigorous and to multiply your free plants. Each division is a complete blooming plant ready for a new location. The one technique that separates gardeners who get a spectacular fall display from those who get a floppy, sparse mess is this. In late May, pinch every stem back by half. In late June, pinch back by half again. 2 cuts, that is all. Those 2 cuts create dramatically more branching, more flower stems, and a dense, self-supporting mound that does not need staking. Skip them, and the plant flops open and produces a fraction of the blooms it was capable of. Asters are among the very last reliable nectar sources for monarch butterflies before their full migration to Mexico. Research from Monarch Watch documents New England aster as a critical late-season fueling station on eastern and central flyways. When a monarch lands on your asters in October, when you are sitting outside in a jacket with something warm in your hands, watching that migration pause in your yard for a moment before continuing south, that is the moment every plant you put in the ground this season pays off. Plant 9. Ajuga. This is the plant that solved the problem every American gardener with a shaded yard has been fighting and losing for years. The dark, root-choked area under your oak or your maple where nothing grows, where every plant you have ever tried has quietly failed and disappeared. That place. Ajuga was built for exactly that place. Ajuga reptans is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Low, dense, ground-hugging foliage in deep burgundy, bronze green, or tricolor depending on the variety, with short spikes of vivid blue-purple flowers rising above it in May and June. The flower color against the dark foliage is genuinely striking in a way that surprises people who have only ever seen it in photographs. Here is what makes Ajuga the fastest spreading plant on this entire list. It spreads through stolons, horizontal surface stems that reach outward and root themselves wherever they touch soil. Unlike underground rhizomes, you cannot see working. You can watch Ajuga move. Plant it on a Tuesday. 2 weeks later, new rosettes are forming 8 inches away. By end of season, one plant covers several square feet. By year 2, the problem area under that tree that you gave up on looks completely intentional. The one thing most people do not know about Ajuga is that it solves a weed problem at the same time it solves the bare ground problem. Its dense mat of foliage closes in so completely that weed seeds cannot reach soil, cannot germinate, and cannot establish. You are not just growing a ground cover, you are deploying a biological weed barrier that works every day without any intervention from you. Burgundy glow for tricolor foliage with cream, pink, and bronze tones that look hand-painted. Black scallop for the darkest, deepest burgundy available, almost black in certain light. Chocolate chip for a miniature variety that spreads just as aggressively in a more refined form. Zones 3 through 9. The worst shade spot in your entire yard is this plant's favorite address. 9 plants in. If you are still here, you are the kind of gardener this channel was built for. Not a casual browser, someone who actually wants the yard to change. Subscribe right now if you have not already. Every week this channel releases content at this level. Real plant knowledge, real zone-specific information, real results. You do not want to find this channel 6 months from now and wish you had subscribed today. Hit the button now. Plant 10. Creeping Jenny. There is one plant that fills impossible spaces faster than anything else on this list. Wet spots, shaded slopes, the edges of containers, the gaps between stepping stones that collect mud and grow weeds. Creeping Jenny moves into all of those, handles all of them, and does it so fast it genuinely surprises gardeners the first season they grow it. Lysimachia nummularia is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Round, bright, golden chartreuse leaves on trailing stems that cascade down slopes, spill out of containers, and cover ground in a warm carpet of color. The golden variety catches light and shade the way almost nothing else does. It glows. On a cloudy day, in a dark corner, under a tree where everything else struggles, the color holds and reads vivid and alive when everything around it looks dim. Here is the spreading speed most people are not prepared for. Creeping Jenny produces running stems that root at every node, not every few inches, every single growth point. Planted in April, and by July, the original plant has multiplied its ground coverage by a factor of 4 to 5. It does not ask permission. It simply moves. One important thing to know going in. Creeping Jenny is genuinely vigorous. In a contained area, a container, a bed with hard edges, a slope with defined borders, it performs beautifully and stays where you put it. In open soil without edges, it moves into adjacent areas within a season. Use that vigor intentionally. Give it the bare slope, the empty bed edge, the problem wet corner where nothing else will grow. That is where it does its best work, and where that speed becomes a genuine advantage. Aurea is the golden variety, and the one to find. It brightens shade more effectively than almost any other foliage plant at its price point. Plant 11. Lamium. This is the plant experienced gardeners have growing in every shaded corner of their property and almost never talk about. And the gap between who knows it and who does not is one of the most significant missed opportunities in American shade gardening. Lamium maculatum is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8. Silver-marked foliage with soft pink, rose, or white flowers in spring and again in early fall after a midsummer trim. The silver variegation on the leaves is not a subtle accent. It is a bold, luminous marking that reflects light in deep shade and makes the plant visible and beautiful from across the yard even without a single flower on it. Here is what makes Lamium extraordinary for problem areas. It spreads through surface runners that root as they travel, covers bare ground under trees and along shaded fence lines rapidly, and grows in the kind of dry shade that defeats almost every other plant you have ever tried in those spots. Not just tolerates it, prefers it. The competition from tree roots and the low moisture that kills other plants barely registers for established Lamium. White Nancy produces silver leaves with crisp white flowers, one of the cleanest and most elegant combinations available in shade gardening. Beacon Silver has soft pink flowers over nearly all silver foliage that looks like frost on the ground in early spring. Pink Pewter is slightly more vigorous than either, with strong pink flowers and silver foliage that holds its color through summer heat better than most varieties. Cut it back by half in midsummer when it starts to look loose and open. It responds within 2 weeks with a flush of fresh growth and a second round of flowers before fall. 2 seasons of performance from one cut. Zones 3 through 8. The dry shade under your largest tree has finally met its match. Plant 12. Baptisia. Every other plant on this list spreads quickly. This one takes its time, and then it becomes permanent in a way that nothing else on this entire list achieves. By year 5 in your yard, a mature Baptisia clump is so structurally impressive, so architecturally commanding, that people assume you paid a professional landscaper to design that corner. You did not. You planted one plant and left it alone. Baptisia australis is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9 with drought tolerance once established that is frankly extraordinary. Deep violet-blue flower spikes rise dramatically above blue-green foliage in mid-spring. The visual impact when a mature clump is in full bloom stops conversations. After flowering ends, decorative rattling seed pods develop that add structure to the border all the way through October. Here is the specific spreading truth about Baptisia that most content gets wrong. It does not spread fast. It does not cover ground the way Ajuga or creeping Jenny does. What it does is develop a deep, massive taproot system that anchors it against drought, against competition, against everything. And then, year by year, the clump grows larger, more impressive, more floriferous. By year 7, one original plant has become a statement that would cost hundreds of dollars to recreate from scratch. You cannot buy a 7-year Baptisia at any nursery. You can only grow one. The one piece of information that saves this plant's life is this: plant it exactly where you want it permanently. Baptisia's taproot makes transplanting after year 2 nearly impossible without losing the plant entirely. Choose your spot, plant it there, and leave it completely alone. That patience is the entire requirement. The plant does everything else. Wild indigo buntings and several species of native bees depend on Baptisia specifically within American ecosystems. A mature clump is a keystone habitat feature in ways that go far beyond its considerable beauty. Plant 13. Veronicastrum. Walk through any serious botanical garden in the Midwest or Mid-Atlantic in July, and you will find it. Tall, architectural, commanding, and almost nobody outside of serious horticultural circles can name it. The fact that most American home gardeners have never planted Veronicastrum is one of the greatest missed opportunities in U.S. perennial gardening today. Veronicastrum virginicum is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8. White or soft lavender candelabra-style flower spikes rising 4 to 6 feet straight up with a structural presence that nothing else in the summer garden replicates. This is not a delicate plant. This is not a filler. This is a statement. And once you place it correctly in a yard, it becomes the plant every visitor asks about without fail, every single season. Here is what most people do not understand about how Veronicastrum spreads. It spreads slowly, deliberately, and permanently. Established clumps expand 3 to 5 inches in diameter each season, building into self-supporting columns that need no staking despite their considerable height. The stems are naturally strong and hold themselves upright through summer storms that flatten lesser plants around them. After 5 years, one original plant has become a commanding architectural presence. After 10 years, it is the most talked about plant in the yard. Documented as a nectar source for over 100 species of native bees and butterflies across U.S. ecosystems, ecologists classify Veronicastrum as a keystone species for mid-Atlantic and Midwestern landscapes. Entire communities of insects organize part of their seasonal activity around its presence. You are not just planting a perennial. You are creating an ecological anchor point in your yard that gets more valuable with every passing year. Pair it at the back of a border with echinacea in front and goldenrod alongside. That combination looks like something a professional designer charged thousands of dollars to create. Give it room from the beginning. Leave it completely alone. It will be the most asked about plant in your yard within 2 full growing seasons. Every plant on this list is capable of filling your yard with free color for decades. But 3 specific mistakes stop that from happening. And most gardening content skips all 3 of them. Rule 1. Stop dividing too early. Every plant on this list needs time in the ground to establish before it can spread effectively. Dividing in year 1 or year 2 pulls energy from a root system that is still building its foundation. The exceptions are Catmint and Black-Eyed Susan, which handle early division well. For everything else, wait until year 3 or 4. The divisions you take then will establish faster, spread more aggressively in their new location, and bloom more heavily in their first season than anything divided from a young plant. Rule 2. Leave the seed heads standing. This is the single most important piece of advice this channel repeats, and the reason is simple. When you cut down seed heads in fall, you eliminate the natural reseeding mechanism that multiplies your plants for free through winter. You eliminate the food source that goldfinches, chickadees, and sparrows depend on through the coldest months of the year. And you eliminate the overwintering habitat that beneficial insects need to return to your garden next spring. Leave them standing. Your garden will be more alive, more naturally abundant, and more ecologically connected because of it. And you will do less work in the process. Rule 3. Drainage before planting. Poor drainage kills more spreading perennials than drought, cold, neglect, and pests combined. Before you put a single plant from this list in the ground, test your drainage. Dig a hole 1 foot deep and fill it with water. If it has not fully drained within 1 hour, you have a drainage problem that will undermine every plant on this list, no matter how well matched to your conditions they otherwise are. Fix it with coarse sand and compost worked deeply into the existing soil. Do this once. It permanently changes what your soil can support and what your garden can become. That is all. 13. Creeping Phlox to Veronicastrum. 13 perennials that do not ask you to replant them, do not quit in July, and do not require you to write another check at the nursery every spring just to maintain some color. Picture your yard 5 years from now. The slope that defeated you for years covered in a waterfall of phlox every April. Bee balm thick along the back fence drawing hummingbirds every summer afternoon. Goldenrod blazing gold in September when every other yard on the street looks finished and bare. Veronicastrum standing tall and architectural in the corner that used to be the most embarrassing spot in the yard, attracting wildlife you did not even know existed in your zip code. You did not pay for that 5-year version of your yard. You planted it once. It paid for itself, and it kept going. The difference between a yard that keeps growing, spreading, and improving every single season and one that stays stuck and half-finished is not budget. It is not how many hours you spend working in it. It is knowing which 13 plants to put in the ground once and then trust. Now you know exactly which ones. If this list gave you real, usable information, and you know it did, subscribe to the channel right now. Not because this channel asked you to, but because what happened in this video happens here every single week. Zone-specific, experience-backed, no-filler information that saves you real money and real time in the garden. The gardeners who subscribe today are the ones whose yards are unrecognizable in 2 seasons. The ones who do not subscribe go back to spending money at the same nursery next May on plants that will not be there by August. Next week on this channel, the 11 biggest mistakes American gardeners make when planting perennials for the first time. And number 4 on that list is something almost every single person watching this video right now does without realizing it is costing them 2 full seasons of growth. That video goes live this week. If you are not subscribed, it will not find you. Hit that button right now so it lands in your feed the moment it publishes. Before you go, answer this honestly in the comments, because the responses from gardeners across different U.S. zones genuinely help everyone watching. Out of all 13 plants on this list, which one are you putting in the ground first this season? And which one surprised you the most? Drop both answers below with your state or zone. A gardener in your exact climate is reading what you write, and your real-world experience is worth more to them than any nursery tag or catalog description ever will be.